Welcome to Accounting High.
What we've tried to do is break down our business into more digestible pieces so that we can provide people with that level of education ahead of time. So when they come in, they're going to go through our basic entry-level training programs so we can assess our people based on their readiness after their internship program. The average of life of someone in public accounting is 2.8 years. We figure if we can educate people, they're going to bring more purpose to their life, then that we can expand that 2.8 years.
Real experience with real things at a young age that they're not getting in the classroom. Welcome back, students. I've got with me Tim Petrey. We're about to listen to his episode. I got a little sidebar here for you, a side interlude. Botkeeper's AI Unchained. On October 8th through the 10th in Santa Rosa, California, Botkeeper's AI Unchained.
Yeah, man, I'm excited about it. I mean, first and foremost, it is in a beautiful part of the country, so an excuse to get out to Sonoma and hang out during a time of the year that's starting to get a little bit chilly in our neck of the woods is going to be pretty great. Looking forward to spending some time with you and guys like Chase Berkey and Kenji and telling our stories and sharing our journeys along the way as to, what we're trying to do and what we're trying to change in our industry.
You know who else might be hanging out? Is Cal Penn from Harold and Kumar. He's also going to be at the conference. That's going to be dope.
I remember Cal Penn from House as well, I believe, right?
He was in House. He was also at the White House. He's a White House correspondent.
Right?
I think he also got his doctorate. This is going to be a dope conference. All the content in there is relative and relevant to a modern day firm like yourself. So anybody listening, you can register for this. We actually have a discount code for you or a link in the show notes that you can click on and you can get your ticket. Tickets are normally $7.99. You can get your ticket for $5.09 with this coupon or this link that I have in the show notes. Click the link in the show notes to get your ticket before October 8th through 10th in Santa Rosa, California for AI Unchained, Botkeeper's AI Unchained. Class is in session. It's time for Shoperations at Accounting High. Class is in session. It's time for Shoperations at Accounting High, kids. Hybrid teams, for Pete's sake. I'm trying to manage through screens, but I can't figure out which Zoom window's my next meeting. Well, since 2012, my firm's been in the cloud. Join us as we go deep. I'll try not to run it to the ground. We're sharing profit and loss and managing back office. The tax staff just quit. Tried to hire on LinkedIn, no luck. And scope creep team count cash, automate tax, compliance transactions, ID and bottlenecks. Come on, ops. Scotty, wait a minute. It's my firm, dog. I know, and I said you could run it however you want.
Introducing the star of our show,
Scotty and Timothy.
We're gonna have a problem here.
What's up, homie?
Scotty, what's up, man? I like that you kicked this off with my Bible name. That's good.
Perfect. And I'm going to call you Timothy. You're an inspiration for all of the students here at Accounting High. What you're doing is amazing. I'm going to introduce you as best as I can for our students here. Still a young man, Mr. Timothy from Youngstown, Ohio, the king of Youngstown now, if you're considering in the CPA world, big dog on campus here. He runs a CPA firm that's homegrown out of Youngstown. He has had 17 acquisitions over the past less than 10 years. Runs the firm HD Davis, HD Growth Partners, has been acquired by Ascend in the Ascend private equity model. Tim runs multiple businesses. We're going to talk about all the different businesses that he runs. He's been on the Forbes Top 200 2024 CPAs. I don't know how many more things I can say before I run out of breath here, Tim. Thank you for joining me today, homie.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Tim, just to get some context here, let's go over the size of your firm as of this conversation.
Yeah, so we do about $7.5 million in global revenue. We've got 75 employees, all of which are hybrid. A good portion of them are local to the Youngstown area. We've built ourselves a good, healthy little firm, as I like to call it, and we're excited about what's coming next.
A healthy little firm, you still have that mindset where you're the little guy. And Tim, I want to talk about that. Let's just get our students acclimated here. Tell us how you got started. It's becoming a CPA or getting into accounting just to begin with.
Went to school here at Youngstown State University. They have an amazing accounting program here. Graduated in '08. Not the best time in the financial world to be starting in this business, especially here in Youngstown, a somewhat of a dying community. Interned with a pretty decent sized firm here in town, a regional player. Didn't get a job offer. Interviewed with every firm in town. One firm interviewed 4 or 5 times with. Didn't get any job offers. Got a couple internship offers, but I was graduating and wanted a real job. Planned to leave. I had a job lined up in DC, and I took kind of a short-term gig at a small firm that was doing a couple $100,000 in revenue, and was just answering the phones for what was HD Davis Associates at the time. It was a gentleman that had, Harold Davis, who had left another firm and started his own, was supposed to be primarily a business coaching business. He had acquired a small book of business from a guy that had some health issues, and it was a little bit overwhelming for him. So I came in and I was helping answering the phones, and after 6 months, it was time for me to leave. And he and I sat down and had a conversation, and I really didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay here in Youngstown. This is where I'm from. This is where my roots are at. This is where my family's at. And
why was it supposed to leave after 6 months? What was the term there?
Well, I had a job lined up elsewhere. I had a job in DC.
Oh, this was supposed to be just temporary.
Yeah, I had accepted a job at a big firm in DC, and this was just supposed to be something that gave me a little bit of experience and got me a little bit more prepared for whatever that role was going to be next. Stuck around here. He and I really hit it off. He was somebody that he looked at me and saw something that I did not see in myself. I had no idea what I had, and he was planning on kind of selling the firm to another regional firm here in town. And he looked at me and said, I'd rather just kind of invest in you. Eventually you take over the practice. So I was 21 at the time. That was a lot to hear. By 23, I bought into the practice. By 25, I took over as the managing partner. And we've since grown that practice from about $300,000 in revenue when I started, about little over $400,000 in revenue when I took over as managing partner, to about $7.5 million this year. And we've done it all here in our community in Youngstown, Ohio, which in my opinion was the feat that I'm most proud of. There was a lot of people that told me, you can't do it here in Youngstown, too small of a town. You need to go to Chicago. You need to go to Cleveland. You go to New York. You got to get out of Youngstown. And I was adamant about the fact that we were going to do it here. So still very much so have that small firm mentality. We have some big firms in town here that have always kind of looked at us as the kids of the group, as the ornery millennials. We've done a really good job of shaking things up here in our town. So I think that we've arrived to some degree, and they're kind of probably getting a little bit annoyed with us at this stage, but we ain't going anywhere now.
They wouldn't even hire you at first. And this is your small pond now. You're the big fish in the small pond now. They were the big fish when you were applying to their firms, and they weren't going to take you. So you're going to pack your bags, leave to Washington, D.C., the big city, and you never ended up leaving. You're still in this pond, but now you've acquired all this. You've ate all the other small fish there, and you're the big fish next to these guys now. So some might say now you've exited this small pond by taking this partnership with Ascend, however you want to call it, them acquiring you, whatever. There, you're swimming with the fishes now. You're in the sea. You're with the sharks now. This is big time. How does that feel too? And I understand you still talk like you have that small mindset of the small guy, the little guy, but how does it feel to be part of the big guys too?
I've always still viewed it as we're still the small guys. I mean, we're still servicing that middle market, regardless of what larger group that we're a part of. We service the underserved. We service those groups that don't have access to the big firms. We service those clients that they can't hire a full-time CFO. They can't hire a full-time accounting staff. They really need us to be impactful advisors to them. So it still feels like we're servicing the same level of clients we are now. It's just a matter of being able to service them with some, slightly better resources and tools than we had before. I don't see that really ever changing for us. I don't envision that we're going to be swimming upstream, so to speak, and working on SEC clients and doing the real complicated filings that your big giant firms are doing, auditing cash for Coca-Cola and all that crazy stuff. We want to make an impact. So we're going to stay in that pond and try to just dominate that pond.
Let's talk about some of the tactical things that you guys have done at your firm. One topic that always seems to come up on this show is tracking of time. You're started as a traditional firm. You're doing a lot of things differently. Mm-hmm. What are you doing in that front? Are you guys tracking time?
We're still tracking time. We're not charging on time. About 70% of our business is no longer based on time. About 30% of our business is still time and billing. We have a lot of traditional consulting work and A&A compliance level work, but the majority of our work is based on what we call a service agreement. We give an annual service agreement to our clients. We have deliverables inside of that service agreement, like financial statements, when they will be delivered, how they will be delivered. Our team members are then held accountable based on how they meet deliverables. So we're still at a point where we're accumulating that data to make sure that we're pricing appropriately. But eventually we'll be in a position where we will no longer need to do that. We're setting ourselves up so that we can move to deliverable-based compensation plan. We switched this year to a really heavy incentive plan where we give people a really good base compensation, but they have the opportunity to make a really large annual bonus. And the way that they get that large annual bonus is they have 6 metrics that they need to meet that are tied back to our cultural beliefs, our cultural anchors. For example, one of those metrics is you need to be at least 5 community events over the course of a year. If you're at 5 community events, then for that one of those 6 factors, you get 100%. Then you add up all 6 and you divide them by 6. That's your percentage of your allocable bonus. One of those factors of the 6 is revenue derived and revenue motivated. The rest of them are all service-based, deliverable-based.
Community-related items. So you're interweaving all of it together, and the revenue managed is a good metric, but it's not, again, the be-all, end-all. It also doesn't sound like that there's a heavy focus on these vague metrics, or this is all tied to specific things they can do to help their performance and to be paid more. There's no ambiguity in those metrics either. One thing I noticed that you said recently, I think in a post, was about the mistakes you've made. The best work or the best writings is the rewrites, is the redoing and the rework. So it sounds like you've not been afraid to try things out that are new, make mistakes, and then be willing to scrap some things along the way. So tell me about some of the things that you've maybe learned along the way, or maybe some of the things that you scrapped or that you tried that didn't really work.
I think first and foremost, as an entrepreneur, you got to throw your ego out of the window when it comes time to just accepting failures. Like, that's the part that I see people struggle with. It's like, well, I'm right, and this is the right thing to do. Well, if you think that it's the right thing to do, but you've got the vast majority of your workforce is looking at you like, this is stupid, man. Why are you doing it this way? Then who's the dummy? You know what I mean? One of the things that I think it worked really well was I've had a staff advisory council for some time where I pick somebody at every level of the organization. So I have an intern, I have a junior accountant, I have a staff accountant, I have a senior accountant, I have a manager, and I meet with that group on a regular basis to hear what they want and what they need and the things that are important to them. One of the lessons I learned along the way was we lost a couple of really good people in our early years of business. And I remember asking them, like, why are you leaving? What is pressuring you to go somewhere else? And sometimes it was simple. Sometimes it was health insurance. Sometimes it was benefits. Sometimes it was, I want to go work for a bigger firm and just get the experience of something else. But time and time again, there was one thing that kept popping up, and it was this lack of transparency about a career path. We made a big change in that regard, and we said, I want to gamify this process. I want to make this feel like a game to find success. So we rolled out what's called the Level Up program. The Level Up program provides people with a quantifiable expectation at every level of our organization. And what we do is, if you're meeting all of those things, and those things might be, you need to be able to prepare a corporate tax return beginning to end. You need to be able to complete a compilation. You need to be able to do some of these things that are not subjective by nature, right? And then you have to meet the targets that we set out for you in those scorecards that we give to people live on a monthly basis so they can see those metrics over and over again and self-review and self-improve. And then it makes it very clear, if somebody wants to get promoted, it's no longer do I got to be buddy-buddy with somebody? Do I got to play the politics? Do I have to play all these other games in order to get promoted? Because I just put my head down and do what I know I need to do. And if I do that, I'll be on this path to making more money. And I think that was the one thing that was a culmination of a bunch of failures along the way, because we tried a bunch of different things. We tried to just give people more money. We tried to give people more communication. And more communication wasn't the answer. The appropriate communication and that direct feedback to people on a regular basis has ultimately been the answer. Now, it's still very early on in the process. We just had our first round of graduates in the Level Up program and people that got promoted in the last couple of weeks in our first half of the year. But so far, the impact that something that simple. Now, it took a lot of time and energy and effort to define all of that stuff.
Sure.
But I mean, it's worth it. Now you have people that they see it. What is it going to take for me to become a partner? And is that what I want to be? Most firms, they don't tell people what it's going to take to become a partner.
They tell you you're on a track.
Yeah. You're on this road that's leading maybe to partner eventually, but that road might be 3 miles long, or it might be 6 years long. It might be 60 years long. You don't know how long that partner track is. So with us, we just wanted to give them the rules to the game and let them play it.
Yeah, and it starts by defining and creating clear expectations, defining what those rules are, and openly saying, we're experimenting with some of these things too, right? Like,
Yep.
They have to be a little bit understanding in the process for something like that. I used to try all kinds of fun stuff like that for the team to get them engaged, but it goes back to caring and doing things that actually are meaningful for them and transparent to what you're trying to accomplish as well. So you don't have to do things. I think that people made it a little too complex and confusing in the past because they were trying to mask the fact that they were just trying to line their own pockets and make more money, right?
Yep.
You can be transparent if you're able to. You got nothing to hide. Like if you don't have anything to hide, full transparency is going to benefit everybody in the company and create situations where you don't have resentment or you don't have people leaving unknowingly, and then you get this mass exodus of people because the truth is revealed. Uncover something. So let's get a little tactical here, and this is a little bit of a pivot here, but when you're acquiring a lot of these smaller firms, how do you handle the price changes? Or how do you handle the pricing, and how is your pricing now compared to what it may have been in the past? The reason I'm asking is I would imagine a lot of them are price sensitive and they're not paying a lot at a lot of these really small firms. Yeah. So how do you handle that?
So this was a really good learning experience. After the first dozen acquisitions or so, you realize what you did wrong. The first couple, we made the mistake of saying, we're not going to change anything. We're going to come in here and we're going to do everything. We're going to do everything the same way that everybody else is doing. Like, again, back to that mindset of like, I wanted to make people happy, and I wanted to make sure that the clients were happy, and that was the first priority. Made that mistake quite a few times. And eventually realized, hey, we have a really great group of people. There was a confidence that built up in myself and our firm as a whole to be able to come to people and say, hey, listen, we're going to charge you more right away. We're going to take this Band-Aid off. Listen, I know what the market is. You've been lucky. You've been working with this accountant for the last 40 years. And the reason that they ended up having to sell to me and not having any other option in succession planning was because they never raised their prices. They never even had inflationary price increases. I mean, they were $100 1040s that we were doing up in Amish country by hand. You know what I mean? It was a mess. Step one was we were unapologetically us. And I don't think that we were able to truly do that until we were a little bit more mature, because people eventually saw us, they saw our website, they saw our outreach, they saw the things that we were doing in the community, and they realized, okay, they're a legitimate business. So we didn't have that luxury of being able to just say that from the beginning. And I don't know, even knowing what I know now, if I would have been able to do that. We made a big adjustment overall to just saying, hey, we're going to reprice these clients right away. It's now our job to show them why we're great. And if they don't see that, that's fine. We just got okay with the fact that there was going to be clients that were going to leave us for price. What ultimately happened 9 times out of 10 was that they left for price, and they'd go around town and they'd shop it around. And they come back and say, I never realized how good of a deal I was getting. Then they'd end up coming back to us. So that was probably the most tactical mistake I made early on, was just trying to make everybody happy and not doing the right thing for the business and our employees. Raising prices right away has certainly been important. Now, you can't be greedy. You got to be realistic. I mean, you can't just come in and, triple somebody's price and not show them the value of what they're getting. I'm a firm believer of that. Is that you got to be able to provide something that they weren't getting before, even if it's little. I mean, even if it's something like I write these custom newsletters myself on a regular basis, and I provide educational content for our clients. At a minimum, you're getting that. You're going to get that as a transition to our firm. You're going to get resources from our department head. So at least stick around and hear, a year's worth of that. And then listen, if that's still not valuable to you and you don't see the value in the equation, go to H&R Block and pay more probably for that same tax return that you weren't willing to pay us $1,000 for. So
give me an example of how you're Chick-fil-Aing it, how you're walking up to people's cars and taking their order or something. What are you doing differently than some of these other firms?
One of our metrics, one of those big incentive comp plan metrics is responsiveness. The number one reason that we get new clients is because they say, I can't get a hold of my accountant. Or that, I send them a message and they get back to me 3 weeks later. Or I don't feel important. Our requirement of our employees is our triage system. We use Karbon as a firm management practice, which is awesome. Allows for me to track the responsiveness of our team members. So if they're missing their deadlines and if they are not responsive based on the agreements that we give to people, which is a required 48-hour response time, then those people's compensation is impacted and their potential employment is impacted. When you go to Chick-fil-A, everything is my pleasure, right? They speak in an elevated language. It's not, can I refill your drink? May I refill your beverage, sir? So trying to give people that focus on service and trying to be empathetic to those clients, I think, is the number one reason that we're more Chick-fil-A than others. The payroll company has really been an all-in experiment to that from day one, because that was something that we started from scratch out of the box. That was going to be our mindset, was that the big box providers of payroll services were basically like a SaaS company, right? You do all the work, you put all the stuff in the system, we'll pump out a paycheck for your employees. If we need a call, you're going to get some phone bank, right? With our team, you get a payroll concierge that's assigned to your account, and that person is responsible for ensuring that you're happy. On the HD side of the equation, on the accounting side of the equation, you have a client owner. You have someone that owns your relationship. That person is responsible for making sure that you're happy. Part of their compensation is their NPS scores. That incentive plan is driven by not only an external NPS score, but an internal NPS score. We don't put up with any jerks in our business.
Wait,
if you're
you
nice
have
to
your
your
team
colleagues.
filling it out as well?
Yeah, so we have an NPS score, an internal NPS score. So they're rating one another. That to me was a good way of ensuring that people are providing that high level of service because they're working with people they like to work with and their clients love them.
So tell me the makeup of your team. You are primarily like local. Do you guys have an office? Is everybody working from home? Do you have outsourcing as well?
Yes, yes, and yes. 2019, we had outgrown our building by a ton. We were in what I affectionately refer to as like grandma's house. We were in this like old house that had, this weird little basement, and then we renovated the garage, and then we renovated the upstairs, and we were jamming all these people in this building. And 2020 happens, pandemic and all that fun stuff. And we look around and we're like, should we make an investment and buy a building, or should we just go fully remote? And I watched some of my friends have some real success in these remote practices. Your Brennan Halls and your Chase Berkeys, these guys that are just killing it with remote offices. And I really thought that was something that we could do, and started to really survey our employees, went down to a couple of the universities, Youngstown State, Kent State University, and asked the students, what do you want? When you come to work, what do you want? And they're like, we want to come to work. We're tired of the Zoom crap. We want to come. We want to be part of something. We want to see stuff. So I changed my mindset on that to say, if I'm going to have an office, have a global HQ, we're going to make sure it's awesome. I did a ton of research. I traveled the country. I went to different CPA firms. I asked them, what did you do that you regret? What did you do that you loved? And we bought a 30,000 square foot facility here in Youngstown that was, the majority of it was abandoned for quite a few years. And we gutted it. And we built this beautiful building that's very tech firm-esque. It has collaborative rooms. It has great tech inside of it. It has great places for people to chill and just come in and have lunch together, or come in and do training sessions. And if people want offices, they've got offices in the facility. But I wanted to treat my people, my team members, like they were adults. And I wanted to tell them, hey, if you want to come to the office, we're going to have a great place for you to come. We're going to provide value if you come to the office. And if you want to stay home and you can hit your deliverables and you can provide value and you feel that that's the right decision for your career, we're going to give you the resources and tools to do that too. As a result of building that beautiful building and renovating this place into something that people wanted to come to, we got a lot of people that did come back to the office. And there's still quite a few of us, myself included. I mean, I'm at home right now. This is home base for me that allows for me to come to the office a couple days a week, work remote a couple days of the week, and get to pop up and have lunch with my kids or see them when they get off the bus or get home from school or whatever, and just not waste as much time traveling when I need to. We're still a mixed bag of those things, and I think it's a really difficult way to do things because you have to really invest in an operating system that will allow for you to empower your employees to get what they need out of your system, and you got to have no ego to take the feedback.
Yeah. You're one of the first truly hybrid solutions here that I'm hearing of, because this did happen post-COVID, that you just made this decision to not force people to come into the office, but to rebuild an office for the team. So what percentage of your people are coming in every day?
I'd say about 40%. The majority of our admin team still comes in every day. They're probably a little bit heavier, that percentage. But our professional staff is probably a coin flip. And during the seasonal time, during tax season in March, you probably got 80% of the people back into the office. But there will always be a good chunk of them that are permanently remote. Our payroll business is entirely decentralized. I think almost none of those people come to the office. They're all fully remote. Our CAS team, our bookkeeping team, a lot of them are more remote. But when you get into more of the compliance-focused tax and A&A, there's still a lot more of that collaborative work that still needs to be done. There's a lot of that training that needs to be done. Our interns still come to the office the vast majority of the time. But basically, the sliding scale that I've seen is that the further you progress in your career and the more that you've got your book of business, your specialty, your thing, you can start to leave more. You can have more hybrid flexibility. So, I mean, we did things as simple as we built a podcast studio in our building so that if people want to start to niche and create their specialty and create content and do things that will empower the progress of their career, they've got a place to do it, because that to me is the secret to being able to have a truly hybrid work environment for your entire life. Is you've got to find a way that you can connect to people if you're not connecting with them in person.
Tim, Botkeeper's AI Unchained on October 8th through the 10th in Santa Rosa, California.
This is the kind of place that you need to be if you're thinking about changing your firm into a more progressive firm. If you're already there, if you're halfway there, if you haven't started yet, these are the people you need to be around. And so looking forward to be a part of that in our own evolution of our journey and helping to share whatever tidbits we can to help people along the way in their own.
So, Tim, I've been to a lot of conferences, and I don't think we've crossed paths at conferences, but have you been to any in the last couple of years?
I'm just kind of starting to get back into the conference scene. Did BDO's conference in May.
So have you ever been to a conference that has pickleball, plate smashing, lawn games, and an outdoor venue in wine country?
Most accounting conferences are kind of the same old, right? I mean, you go to the conference, you listen to other people talk, you go eat, you have a couple of drinks. This one is a little bit outside of the box. I'm pumped about all the extracurricular activities. We're all in. We're going to be there for a few extra days. If we're flying all the way across the country, we might as well make the best of it.
Networking, socializing, these are the things that happen at conferences. This one just does it to the max. It's going to be dope. October 8th through 10th. We actually have a discount code for you, or that you can click on, and you can get your ticket. Tickets are normally $7.99. You can get your ticket for $5.09 with this coupon or this link that I have in the show notes. Click the link in the show notes to get your ticket before October 8th through 10th in Santa Rosa, California for AI Unchained. Botkeeper's AI Unchained. Yeah, so let's talk about the niching. So on your website, you have a couple different items that you guys niche in. I believe I remember during our conversation is you don't technically have an industry niche, and you'll take on any type of client locally. Do you guys have a niche, industry specific, or do you still consider yourselves general?
So the way that I've always viewed our firm is that we wanted to be the platform for other people to establish their niche on. We didn't want to say that our firm has a niche. We wanted to say that Cody on my team has a niche that services fast casual restaurants. And Alex on my team has a niche that services real estate. So we wanted to empower people to build their own specialties and niches on our platform of HD growth partners. Our job is to provide them resources to be able to do that, because, the goal for me over the course of the last couple of years was I want to see how fast I can get people to make 150 grand a year. I want to see how far I can push that envelope to the point where I got somebody maybe that's like 3 years out of school that's making well into the six figures by giving them the resources to niche down and specialize after they've got their
ambition,
general
baby.
education.
Yeah.
So.
Got that ambition. Those kids with the ambition, they will grow as fast as you let them.
Yep. And if you don't, and if you just say, here's the box that you got to play in, they're
going to leave. They're going to go play somewhere else or make their own game. Yep. And so you've let them almost spin up essentially their own little firm within a firm that they can have as their own if they're really treating it that way. That's the thing, is you're allowing them nestled underneath, which is still nestled underneath Ascend. We didn't really talk about that much, but underneath Ascend, they've got the HD growth partners. And then here we go. I'm starting my niche firm where I deal with plumbers or people who clean RVs or semi-trucks or whatever. Dope. So you created that. How about interns? So you've got, are these local students working with you? What's the intern program look like?
Yeah, so our interns are mostly from Youngstown State University. Again, great accounting program there. They've always had a great pipeline of talent to come out of that school. Proud Penguin myself. And one of the things that we've really gotten better at over the course of the last years, and I attribute 100% of this success to our Director of Operations, Megan Roberts. She's an amazing leader operationally for our firm. She came in and saw something. She wasn't in public accounting before, and she came in and started working with me, and she looked at me and said, "Your internship program sucks." And I said, well, thank you for that honesty. I appreciate that. But that's kind of how the industry works. Like, the industry works with interns where it's basically sink or swim. It's like baptism by fire, right? Is that you come in, you take whatever some partner is going to throw at you. Maybe you go through a week-long or 2-week-long training course or something like that. But ultimately, it's really a learn on your feet kind of a situation. We have spent a ton of time focusing on just at HD's level, how to get those people more prepared. So let's take a step back to the truck washing days. All right. When I washed semi-trucks, before you would ever go and pick up a wand to go wash a truck, you sat in the break room and you watched a computer, and it taught you every single step. From when do I apply the soap? How long do I apply the soap? What angle do I hold the wash? How do I brush it? How fast should I brush it? All of those things. So what we've tried to do is break down our business into more digestible pieces so that we can provide people with that level of education ahead of time. So when they come in, they're going to go through a QBO certification. They're going to go through a Karbon certification. They're going to go through our basic entry-level training programs that are not just, hey, you sat here and did this, but you sat here, you took a test on this, you've got some readiness score by the end of this, so we can assess our people based on their readiness after their internship program. That's one of the commitments that we've made, locally at HD, but on the Ascend level, we've dedicated a ton of time, energy, and resources to our learning and development program, so that we're now aggregating learning and development resources amongst 14 other firms across the country to share how we can get our people more ready faster. The statistic that was alarming to me in the early years of being our managing partner was the average life of someone in public accounting is 2.8 years. So people last on average 2.8 years. And I looked at that from my perspective and I said, boy, the first year and a half to 2 years, we don't make any money on them. We are just burying ourselves in inefficiencies. So how do we get ourselves to a point where we can get somebody ready to be impactful in public accounting after 6 months? And even if we can't increase that 2.8 years, we've got a more purposeful engagement for them to come and work here, because the reason people leave after 2.8 years is because they feel like an idiot. They feel like they're not contributing. They feel like they're not doing enough. So we figure if we can educate people, they're going to bring more purpose to their life. Then that we can expand that 2.8 years. A circular reference, as the accounting kids would say, I suppose.
Well, what you're also doing is you're showing them real experience with real things at a young age that they're not getting in the classroom.
Yep.
So you're essentially teaching them all the valuable things of working at a firm, and they're not going to learn this anywhere else, and you're investing in them, and they see that, and they will return that favor that you're giving them at this age. You're not paying them that much, I would assume. Or what's the pay rate, actually? Is it competitive?
So one of the things that we've started earlier was that I worked full-time through college, right? And I know that at our local university is a primarily commuter school. So a lot of these kids are working full-time while they're going to school. So we said, guys, why don't we recruit freshmen? Why don't we recruit sophomores? Let's get them in here earlier. They're already working while they're going to school. And we're paying them a heck of a lot more than they make at Sheetz or Burger King or McDonald's. I mean, they're coming out of school, or they're still in school making whatever, 17, 18 bucks an hour at a baseline, plus some incentive options, plus some, other things that they can add in along the way. They're making more money than they would be doing other non-relative work to what they're studying. And now their studying is easier because they're getting real life impact. And while they're studying, they're being able to practice that here. So it feeds both sides of the equation, makes them a better student, and makes them more ready by the time senior year comes around for them to graduate. They've already had their college degree and 2-3 years worth of work experience. So really dialing down that internship to be focused on our freshman and sophomore year accounting students has been really impactful for us.
How many interns do you have now?
I think we have 5 or 6 now. We graduate them from an intern to a junior accountant while they're still in school. So if you're still in school, an internship to me is like a temporary thing. The junior accountant is like, this is a job. You've got a commitment from us that we're going to continue to invest in you, rather than just saying, come back for another internship, come back for another internship.
It's a title that they'll have probably when they graduate. That's what you're hiring for at that stage anyway. So it's like they're already employed before they've even got their certificate of graduation.
So one of the guys that started as a junior accountant, I think late in his freshman year, early in his sophomore year, he graduated. And then a year later, not only was he not a staff accountant, he was a senior accountant. So he was 1 year out of school and was a senior accountant that normally would have taken you another 3 years after graduation to achieve that next level in their career.
Yeah, but did he have enough credit hours to be a CPA yet?
I got to go back and get that damn 150 hours.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that. That's not even something that we bring up here. But that's pretty dope, though. So what you're like, again, it's all real life, real experience with real. You're a real business working with real business owners. That's the heart of the economy. So how has Ascend helped elevate this for you? It sounds like you had everything in place before they even came in. What are some of the benefits that it is to working with them?
I think the biggest benefit by a mile is the community. We had a lot of things figured out. Now, we're still, an adolescent by nature. There's a lot of things that are not perfect and that we have to break and fix and so on and so forth.
How many other firm or practices have been acquired or are a part of this model right now?
I think we're up to 13 other firms other than us.
Yeah.
So what is really, really valuable is the fact that me and the other CEOs of the other firms across the country, we share ideas about what we're seeing. Well, how do we handle this new BOI reporting? How do we handle this new tax code? How do we handle this investment that we need to make into ChatGPT or the next learning and development platform or this, that, or the other? And then as you go further down the list, not only is it leadership that gets to share those resources, but we have pods. We have people that are A&A leaders at every firm that are meeting together. We have tax leaders at every firm that are meeting together. We have learning and development people that are meeting together. We will eventually have, marketing people. And just continue to share the resources of that community, because that's the only reason that you would ever consider, if you build a firm of any magnitude, it's the only reason that you'd ever really consider merging up into another firm, is because the only thing that those larger regional players could have ever said that they would do better than me is that they have deeper resources and they have deeper knowledge in certain areas. Well, now they can't even say that, because I can say, all right, I'm going to call one of our partner firms in Texas that's an amazing resource at oil and gas in the construction industry. Or I'm going to call one of our partner firms in New Hampshire that is an expert at car dealerships. And our depth is just so much further than it ever was. And the other piece of it that's wonderful next to community is that, me protecting my own time. I'm no longer wasting my time on things like managing the day-to-day banking of our business and or making the decision about the next investment into this tech stack. Like, we're sharing those decisions across the platform, which then frees up parts of my brain and parts of my day to be able to focus on the best things that I can focus on, which is developing our people, which is creating better processes and systems for our firms. Yeah, it is a situation where everybody can win.
Everybody is winning. This is fascinating. This is incredible. You're a big inspiration for a lot of the young CPAs out there that are looking to build and grow something of this nature. You don't sound stressed and you don't sound overworked or overburdened. It sounds like you're channeling all of that into other sources of growth and gratitude. And that's pretty hard to come by in this profession or in this day and age. So it's refreshing and it's pretty cool. Tim, Botkeeper's AI Unchained. There's going to be a lot of Cals there too. This is in California. So we got Cal CPA is jointly putting this on. They were the reason that this is in California. So this went from East Coast to West Coast. There's also a guy from New York that's going to be there, Calvin Harris. So that's another Cal. So we got California, we got Cal CPA, Calvin Harris. He's going to be speaking. He's awesome. I see him on LinkedIn. I've never met him in person. Excited for that. But we also got Cal Penn, as we discussed. So that's 4 Cals that I can think of. There might be more.
I believe there's going to be an OKR appearance here as well. So I think we're all pretty excited about that.
You heard it here first. Students, you're in for a treat if you come join us. You might get to see my alter ego. Yeah,
you can't miss that.
I mean, yeah, that's just the bonus. That's like the icing on top of the icing, right? That's right. The extra icing that you put on. It's not even the cherry.
A little wine, a little lawn games, AI and accounting, and then some OKR jams. I mean, that sounds like a pretty okay week.
We got Lauren Baptiste, Dave Bergstein, Nick Bossia, Rafael Casas, Travis Cherry, Nina Chamura, Corey Canoyer, he's our homie here at Accounting High, Gail Crosley, Seth Feinberg, Marianne Fisher, I met her last year, she's dope, she's been on the show, Sharon Fuller's also been on the show, she's dope, Chris Gallo, Matthew Geary, Angie Grissom, Cal Harris, who I just mentioned, Will Hill, Michael Sue, Kenji Kuramoto, Mike Maximus, Nike Air Max, you got to check out his Aprio shoes, Blake Metzer, Gaynor Milky, Patrick Morrell, Enrico Palmerino, and Tim Petrey, Megan Ricketts, and Scotty OKR Scareno. We got another Scott Saucy, also my initials. That I'm excited to meet him. Rachel Smith, Lee Walker, Dustin Wheeler, and Jeannie Whitehouse, my homie Jeannie Whitehouse. I see Jeannie all around at least 3 or 4 times a year now. You guys are going to love her. She's been on the show too. So shout out to all the Accounting High faculty that are going to be there too. This is going to be a fun event. Check it out. I got the link in the show notes. It is October 8th through 10th in Santa Rosa, California. Tickets are normally $7.99. You can get your ticket for $5.09 with this coupon. Click the link in the show notes to get your ticket before October 8th through 10th in Santa Rosa, California for AI Unchained, Botkeeper's AI Unchained. Thanks for joining me here, Tim.
Thanks for having me, man. Looking forward to it.
Peace out, homies.
Let's go.
Tune in next week on the Accounting High Guide. Well, let's talk about how you made that impact to get here and how you got to this $7.5 million, because a lot of it is through working with the small guys. You've created companies to service the small guys. You've got White Glove Payroll, which is a payroll company that you've spun off that is for small businesses. You've got a t-shirt company as well. You're also the founder of what's called Penguin Collective. That's assisting local athletes, helping them. Like I said, the king of Youngstown, CPAs.
The concept of every single one of our businesses is really the same. You know, we want to be the Chik-fil-a or whatever we're doing. We want to follow that Walt Disney model. We're a service-based business. I feel like so many accounting firms and service-based businesses forgot what that really means, where they're just pumping out compliance work.
Okay.